Save Me. They are very comfortable on this hero. However, Chingy on this, glaive is just so strong as well. With just one Sorrow Blade into a poison shift, he can put out just so much damage that he can just burst you down in one basic attack after an afterburn, a basic attack and a twisted stroke, and you just fall flat, and your allies can just tell you, see you in base. But we do see an Idris now being banned out from the side of Elite 8, going up against that of Infamous. In last week alone, we saw Infamous bringing out, a few heroes that are not relative to this meta. Firstly, that would be that of CP Adagio. I'm quite excited as to see whether or not Infamous will pull out the same thing, the CP Adagio, because it looks pretty strong in the last time they actually picked it up. And CP Adagio, very good in the early game, as with Glaive as well. So in that manner, they can just try to push the early game advantage. However, we do see, quite a lot of emphasis as well on majors, especially since Spaghetti is on 1. And we saw how Chingy actually hyper-farmed Spaghetti 4 items, 12 minutes in, right? 4 offensive items just 12 minutes in. So if Spaghetti do pick up the Celeste or the Scarf, it would be definitely the force to be reckoned with. And Glaive can just be that peel that he needs to be. A Black Feather being banned out from the side of Elite 8, or rather from the side of Infamous, which means they will probably, highly likely, go for that Celeste.
Yep, and with that, there's actually going to be a bit of the casters with the Flicker pick, and you were talking about if a team is going to pick more so off meta heroes, it would be that of the side of Infamous. And so they've got a fairly interesting comp build up for them, because it looks like either Ringo or this Glaive are going to have to go CP.
Well, I mean, honestly, Flicker, it's a rather peculiar pickup, all in all. And that is because he is very much snowball captain, yeah? So you want to try your best to snowball the games, else Flicker do not have any room to actually outplay your enemies if you're behind the lines. Whereas you're in front, you force us, if you're ahead of your enemies, you force the captain to build against you firstly, and as well as you can just put on so much pressure in that of jungle with your constant invis as well. But coming out from the side of Elite 8, very, very strong comp with double silencers, double stuns if you actually do, just take Ordain as a stun itself. So double stun, double.
Yep. Well, that CP Ringo, not a bad pick at all in my opinion. I personally prefer it to Infamous going for a CP Glaive. I think if they're going to put one of them on CP, it's the better of the two. And it looks like Infamous gonna get caught out here trying to go to the enemy's backs, and SNK using those boots early on. A good choice to pick those up before and maybe actually manage to out-rotate Elite 8 and steal some farm.
Yep, but Anime Save Me will be catching Spaghetti out, taking the front Treant or the Elder Treant. However, not knowing the SNK, very sneaky on that Flicker.
Oh, they need to be careful to take this mid-tree and quickly, however, as the rest of Elite 8 are in pursuit. Spaghetti manages to secure that one, and we see Chingy is almost about to meet up with the rest of Infamous, just hit that level 2 before anyone on the fold, so they should have a slight advantage, although, CP Ringo not too effective in the early game. Once he builds up those items, it's really where it's going to help out and come in, especially with the Hellfire Brews. If those don't get blocked out, they can definitely mount down squishy targets like
SNK is going into the backlines now, just stealing as much farm as much as a Flicker can, and this is really what you expect of a Flicker, right? So early game vision, definitely very important if you are going to meet up with a Flicker, all in all. And once again, going into lane, that sneaky little Flicker.
Yeah, sneaky little Flicker there is a bit like a raccoon, just kind of going into your property, taking your stuff, and getting out of there unseen. Like, I never thought of Flicker to be so sneaky because he's always in the roam position, but to see SNK play him this way and really just try to take what he can away from the enemy is very interesting to see. He might even try harass Official Hein a bit as he manages to position himself behind them and help his team secure the first blood and the second mid-tree amp. That's going to go over to Chingy there, and they're just going to be able to go back to base now. This is what we said about Infamous. It's not a bad draft at all, and they can definitely make it work and is snowball potential there. However, Flicker, whilst in lane, does get caught out by a bit of that resonance. I guess you'd call it the resonance mark, so Vox knows that Flicker is in the bush at least, and we'll have to see. It just depends on how well SNK can position themselves to get behind them and avoid getting hit by that resonance.
Yep, definitely. So it's just down to SNK. We do see early vision being laid down by the side of lQUATER-8. SNK not knowing that. Catherine goes in with the Merciless Pursuit. Do catch Flicker out, but it will all be in good fun, or rather easy time for Flicker to just go in this again, and then once again go for the mid-tree.
Ooh, and we see a bit of a fight actually breaking out around this mid-tree, and which team actually got that one? It's hard to tell, as the side of lQUATER-8 taking advantage here of the damage that they got down early on in that fight. Might be able to even pick up 2 kills for it. HunJaeger's not going to have enough damage to finish off Spaghetti. Even with that dash, I thought it might be enough, but Chingy also using the Achilles shot over the wall to slow him down, make sure that Spaghetti able to get out of there safely. So the return kill in favor of lQUATER-8 at the start of that fight, as they managed to pick up Flicker, but you know, it's still the early game. We'll have to see how this breaks out. I mean, there's a slight lead for the side of Infamous so far, 8,800 gold, and then 8,400 gold side of lQUATER-8, but the gold difference right now fairly negligible, and we'll have to see where it goes from here.
Yep, Spaghetti definitely in, you know, just put in a spot farming up against a Fox, which has got a lot of poke in that early game, especially those resonance bouncers. And on top of that as well, Catherine constantly up in lane, just, you know, babysitting HunJaeger. But now all 3 members of lQUATER-8 will be up in lane right now. They might just have to back off, or the side of Infamous might just have to back off at this point in time.
Yep, Infamous having to sit and wait, and we see the Ordained being used on Spaghetti. Spaghetti just sitting at the edge of that, playing it smart, doesn't want to get stunned out because a very aggressive engage could come off the back of that, especially with Catherine sitting and wait with that Merciless Pursuit and all 3 members of lQUATER-8 being up in that lane. But Infamous managed to hold their ground up there, and lQUATER-8 are just going to start to back off. But as I say that, it looks like Infamous is starting to get caught out a bit. We need to be careful. Official Hein going into the jungle, stealing some farm away from Chingy at this point. So lQUATER-8, you can see as long as they stick together as a team, they have the better team comp for now. It's definitely what the side of Infamous picked up was a good team comp to help split off the enemy or get any of those targets that had been split off and secure those single target kills. But as it goes for team fights in the early game, it will be tough.
Yep, and with the Dragonblood contract actually picked up by the side, by SNK, I was expecting just a little more aggression all in all, because you have got a slow, you can aid your allies in terms of a damage buff, because of how when you activate Dragon's Blood contract. But all in all, we are not quite seeing that at all. Oh, Chingy, Hellfire Brew.
Hellfire Brew gonna land onto HunJaeger's, followed up by the Afterburn, but punting HunJaeger's away from the fight. There's the Fearsome Shade used in the middle of it, but it's not gonna be of any use as lQUATER-8 aren't able to find the follow-up kill, more so just to get them off of HunJaeger's, as the Fountain was also used. But right now it's gonna be lQUATER-8 in the bear position, but SNK has that Fountain up in just a second, and it looks like they are going to use it. They used it already, and Spaghetti going to go into the backline, punting Official Hein, not quite under the turret, however. And right now, it looks like it's in favor of lQUATER-8.
Yep, I mean, lQUATER-8 definitely do have more consistent damage and, of course, more CCs all around. So the side of Infamous really have to play around those CCs, have to play around, you know, those stuns, and on top of that as well, the Ordained that, you know, Batias can constantly set down. And that is one issue that I see with this team. Chingy really needs that extra damage, and probably that Clockwork and that Echo to do enough damage all in all with that Hellfire Brew, because honestly, in terms of duo, HunJaeger and Official Hein would definitely win you out in that early game as compared to, say, your Glaive have got damage, right? Your Glaive, you'll definitely go for that, you know, Sorrow Blade into Tension Bow. Hopefully, if
Spaghetti gonna position themselves, and you're just talking about Glaive with the damage, position themselves behind Anime Save Me with that afterburn, and then right into the Flicker's slow and Chingy's grasp, where they're able to get their Achilles shot and then finish them off for themselves, getting a return kill. And this is what I meant about when Infamous finds someone caught out on their own, they're going to take advantage of that.
Yep, and this is like the issue. It's relatively simple to solve by the side of Elite 8. Build vision to just counter that flicker, and afterwards just build a lot of health, because generally you do not want to build shield against Chingy, because that is quite useless. Yes, because the Hellfire Brew deals true damage after all, or it bypasses and it pierces. So no matter the amount of shield you build, it will still do a relatively large amount of damage. However, what it can do is just supplement those of it with the extra building of health, and that will definitely help them in the long run.
Yep, and we now see Elite 8 with the pressure once again, getting that turret very low, but there's the Hellfire Brew and the Afterburn. Very good coordination by the side of Infamous. They're also going to use the Moon Cloak to get up and close in that fight, but they're not going to be able to find a follow-up kill just yet. Chingy needs to be careful on the backline, is getting hit by a fair bit of that resonance damage, and there's going to be Spaghetti right in the front line, going in with the Afterburn, and should be able to get out of that one fairly safe. Right now, it's just picking off a single target for a fight, and then after that, they don't really have what it takes at the moment to follow through, but I can imagine in the late game they may. So it just is how well Infamous can hold on to this, and they really need a fight for this first turret, and that's just what they're going to do as SNK and Spaghetti go up, take the 2v2, and clean up in the lane. Now, putting that advantage 5-1 and 20k over to the 18.7, so slightly ahead now, and they should be able to get a bit more if they're able to get this turret.
Yep, that Atlas Pauldron definitely did hit. Oh, official high.
Official high blocks out the Afterburn, but gets caught up in the rest of it, and Chingy is going to be able to stick around to take the kill, as the turret was not focused on them. So that's a kill, that's a turret, a bit more than what Infamous wanted, so I mean, I'm sure they're pleased with that, and it's definitely working out. And you said, if Elite 8 want to stop this, there's a simple one. Vision, and I would say also just stick together as a team. That's when you're best, and make sure you block out the initial Afterburn so you don't get separated, or at least your positioning separated, and then they should be alright. But right now, that Flicker, SNK on Flicker being so sneaky, clearing out a lot of vision himself and managing to just get into the backlines to set up those plays.
Yep, and also the side of Elite 8 definitely did pick up a return turret for themselves, but all in all, I think it still goes towards the side of Infamous. We saw a lot of times Infamous don't really have the team fight capacity, the capacity for team fight. Instead, what Infamous really want to do is just single target pickup. Oh, Flicker in a very, very bad position.
Yeah, we see right now Flicker going very low. They're able to make it out of the fight, however, and they're going to go back in with the rest of their team. They're going to use the Moon Cloak. It's popped Flare to make sure they don't get spotted out, but there's vision in the Tri-Bush, so they will for just a second. And I'm sure by now Elite 8 have caught on to what's going on, and they're going to be very cautious there, sticking together, actually base checking the bush slightly before using that flare. Kind of interesting tactics there, how they went in with the Merciless Pursuit as they entered the brush, and now they're working on resonance damage. Gonna bounce onto Flicker. As I said earlier, SNK needs to be careful of that, not to get caught out on Elite 8 just deciding to leave this gold mine. They don't want to risk it, and they might be able to catch out Flicker instead. Looks like Ordained will land, and they're going to be able to pick up a kill. A bit late for Infamous to go in, though, as the Hellfire Brew lands onto Hanyegas, but the Fountain was used, and the Fearsome Shade going to get blocked out by Spaghetti, but Chingy not going to get caught. Chingy going to get caught up in that, but it doesn't matter. They were far enough away, and this just allows Elite 8 to go for the gold mine with a bit more confidence now.
Yep, so now Chingy will be forced to build into the Echo. We saw the amount of damage it did, that, you know, Hellfire Brew did on Han Jaeger, but all in all, it was just not enough for the immediate salvation for the team. Oh, Glaive with that still.
Oh my, and I just thought that Elite 8 could take it. I'm sure they did as well, but Glaive going in there, risking his life, manages to get the gold mine. Chingy and SNK still alive. They should be able to push this wave between the two of them. And yeah, we could just see right now, Chingy has got that Shad Glass and has got that Clockwork, definitely focusing on the engage factor with the Hellfire Brew, and instead of going for, say, an alternating current early on, but it might be a later kind of pickup item, if not a Broken Myth or an Echo. That does make a lot of sense if you want to echo the Hellfire Brew, but I think it's only going to be so effective during the early game before Hanyegas builds an Aegis.
I mean, even with an Aegis, it will be effective because Hellfire Brew has got piercing. It does 100%. It bypasses shield and all the good things that protect you from crystal damage. So you really need to build a lot of health on top of your Aegis to actually have it work fully or properly. But once again, Infamous will settle for that gold miner, just a very sneaky one to not, Elite 8 not aware whatsoever. Probably they were aware, but they just can do nothing about it. But all in all, I think it is down to Spaghetti, right? So Spaghetti have to be in the front line, put out as much damage, as much burst as possible, and then of course you have Flicker with the disruptions, with the slows and the roots, if he does land those roots. And of course with the Moon Cloak, they can actually sneak an attack, but Chingy cannot quite go into the fight. Chingy has to fight from away, launch out 2 Hellfire Brews, get the carries down. But the saving grace of Infamous, I must say, really is the very early Atlas Pauldron pickup on SNK EA. And that Atlas Pauldron definitely hurt Han Jaeger's attack speed. As you can tell, he has got the Pauldron shift, he has got the breaking point, he has got a lot of emphasis on attack speed. And with SNK and with that Atlas Pauldron, he's just so useless in a lot of team fights we saw.
Yeah, but we'll have to see for now how that works out for the side of Infamous, as they're going to use that Mooncloak to go in, as you mentioned before, but the vision down from Elite 8 will spot them out. Hellfire Brew was used onto Batiste, and they're going to go all in, chasing down Hanyegas. There's going to be the Achilles shot. It should be enough to get the kill, and there's nothing Anime Saving can do to save the rest of that team. And right now, Infamous, this one kind of pick-off strategy, picking the enemy team off one by one, really just seems to be working, especially into the late game where Chingy can sit back, as you say, let the front line go in and cast those Hellfire Brew, and then just follow up with the rest of their team, as they're going to be able to get the CCM, the slows down. Wow, Spaghetti with so much damage jumping onto Anime Save Me, who was caught out trying to look onto that Kraken, and now Infamous are going to be able to get it without much contestant, except Elite 8 coming back for the fight. There's going to be the fearsome shade used a bit early. It was blocked out, however, and Hellfire Brew in return, but just kept Official Hein having to run from that fight, and Infamous going to get that Kraken.
Yep, and like said, right, so even with an Aegis build on Official High, there was Hellfire Brew still took off half his life, and that is just so very painful. And I must agree with you of what Chingy really is doing is just put down the Hellfire Brew and wait for Spaghetti, go in, clean up, and once again he echoes it, he does it again, and Spaghetti once again goes into the afterburn and then just clean up the fight all in all. And of course Flicker is just there to just be annoying, right? I don't see what Flicker else can do but just be annoying. But we have an update for the viewers, as we do see Kraken pushing out the anchor turret of Elite 8. Nebulae 1 against Diva 2-1. So we will be seeing Nebulae moving into the semi-finals. That will be happening tomorrow.
The anchor turret falls, burn return. There's a remember, wait for it. Could be the chance for 8, but Afterburn going to hit Hanyegas into the backline. Chingy going to be able to use the Hellfire Brew to take them down by Official Hein, going to be able to find the kill onto them and Glaive. So there's the return from Elite 8 that they were looking for, just able to funnel the whole team of Infamous as they're trying to push through into the base, into that Blast Tremor, and into the wait for it. The silencers were just too much for the side of Infamous to handle, and they were able to go in and actually pick up some kills in return in favor and actually keep one of their turrets alive they have another fighting chance. But if they're just going to let Infamous get the jump on them again, that's where they're more than likely going to lose. Elite 8 have to get some vision down and have to know where Infamous are, trying to get the CC early and lock down some enemies, because that is what we saw in the early game happening. When they were able to chain their CC together and get some lockdowns, they were able to win the overall team fight out. So I do worry for the side of Elite 8, as the only vision they have is around their base, which is a good idea when going against the Flicker and a fair bit in the jungle, but doesn't look like it's enough right now.
Yep, double Shatter Glass into a Clockwork and an Echo coming up from Chingy on that Ringo. So a lot of damage coming out for that Hellfire Brew. And even if you do block that out, the damage that, you know, the impact damage from Hellfire Brew will just drain your life and drain your health. And there is really nothing much you can do but just jump on top of Chingy, remove Chingy from the fight, and that way, that is one possibility the side of Elite 8 can win this team fight, is just jump directly on Chingy. And on top of that as well, do not, or rather block out the Atlases that SNK will put out, and definitely put out on that of Flicker. Flicker is so rarely played, you know, I sometimes just forget what Flicker is called.
Well, yeah, with that, it is probably the best case and situation to make sure they lock Chingy down, because if they manage to find anyone else on the side of Infamous, they might be able to lock them down and get the kill, but those Hellfire Brews are still sitting and waiting, and more so cooking at the time, as they're going to be casted by Chingy, who's in the wings waiting to get them. And that's the thing, why it's going to be so tough for them to ever jump onto Chingy, because he's always in that backline. And we see the reflex block forced out by the early afterburn, and the follow-up by the Hellfire Brood was just going to take him down instantly. Ringo picks up the double kill, gets the triple, and that's Infamous picking up the ace and picking up the game. And oh my, I have to just say, Chingy, that's cancerous. I hate CP Ringo. It is so cancerous, because you have to block out the Hellfire Brew, or in this case with the rest of the team, you have to block out the CC. You choose one. Either way, you're more than likely dead, and there's no way out of it. And that's the thing, even with a team like Elite 8, the communication's there. They're going to be able to have more than just your own reflex block. It's not like you're playing in solo queue. Your Roamer can also block for you. But when you get Echo and double Shatter, there's just nothing you can do against that.
And on top of that as well, like mentioned before, even if you do perfectly block out that of Hellfire Brew, the amount of damage that you will